ready to unlock some serious energy. We're diving into the world of Dr. Sarah Myhill and her take on the thyroid.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Myhill, she's great.
She really is. We're focusing on her book, The Underactive Thyroid.
Well, what?
It's all about giving you the tools to understand and hopefully improve your well-being.
I like it.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people think the thyroid just controls metabolism, like
Yeah.
it's a simple on-off switch.
Right.
But Dr. Myhill sees it differently, don't you think?
100%. What's fascinating to me is how she connects the thyroid to pretty much every system in the body.
Yeah, it's not just about metabolism, it's like this master conductor.
Exactly. A conductor. It impacts your energy, mood, even your immune system. And don't forget about your brain. Huge impact there.
Okay, I love that analogy. But honestly, I'll admit, when I hear underactive thyroid, I jump to slower metabolism, maybe some extra pounds.
Sure, those are definitely classics.
But in the book, Dr. Myhill paints a much bigger picture, right?
Way bigger. Oh, yeah. In fact, she's got this whole list, over 60 symptoms, all tied to an underactive thyroid.
60. Wow. I'm guessing most people wouldn't connect the dots on a lot of those.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
We're talking fatigue, brain fog, those are givens. But then you've got weight going up and down, not just up.
Oh, interesting.
Right. And it goes even further. You get those colds that just won't quit, messed up digestion, even feeling down or anxious.
So a lot of these are things people just deal with every day.
Sadly, yeah. And that's Dr. Myhill's point. She believes tons of folks are walking around with this, totally undiagnosed.
Makes you wonder how often it's missed in those standard thyroid tests, right?
All the time, in my opinion. And that's the problem. People get stuck. They've got crappy symptoms, but no answers.
Which is frustrating.
The worst.
Absolutely. And I think that's where Dr. Myhill's approach is so refreshing. She doesn't just throw medicine at the problem.
Well,
It's more about getting to the root cause, figuring out what's really going on.
yeah, 100%.
Looking at the whole body, not just the thyroid in isolation.
It's that whole body as a machine idea, right? You wouldn't ignore a sputtering engine, just slap on a new coat of paint.
Exactly.
And to make this really clear, she uses this car analogy in the book.
Ooh, I love a good analogy. Lay it on me.
Okay, so your body, that's the car, right? The thyroid, that's your gas pedal.
Okay, I'm with you.
When it's working right, you've got energy on tap, smooth ride, you get where you need to go.
Makes sense.
But with a wonky thyroid, it's like your pedal's stuck. You can floor it, but you're barely moving.
Or you're just not running efficiently.
Exactly. Even if you manage to get going, there's going to be a lot of sputtering and stalling along the way. It's not pretty.
And it's definitely not fun. So it's not just about having energy, it's about how well your body actually uses it.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
And to stick with the car thing, Dr. Myhill says you can't just focus on the pedal.
Right.
You've got to look at the fuel you're putting in.
The fuel,
Uh-huh.
okay? And that's where her whole paleo-ketogenic diet comes in,
Exactly, the PK diet.
which we'll definitely dive into more later. But why is this way of eating so good for the thyroid?
Well, Dr. Myhill, she's convinced that the standard Western diet, processed junk, sugar galore,
The usual suspects.
exactly, that it's basically public enemy #1 for thyroid problems.
Interesting.
Think about it. Those foods, they mess with your blood sugar, they cause inflammation, and they really screw up your gut.
Ah, the gut, right? We hear so much about that gut-thyroid connection.
Yeah, for good reason. They're practically best friends, always chatting. Dr. Myhill, she calls it an upper fermenting gut.
Upper fermenting gut. What does that even mean?
Basically, it means you've got too much bacteria and yeast partying in the wrong part of your intestines, the small intestine, causing all sorts of trouble.
Okay, that sounds not ideal.
Not at all. It messes with nutrient absorption, ramps up inflammation, and can even trigger autoimmune reactions.
And all of that spells bad news for your thyroid.
Big time. It's like trying to drive with a flat tire and a busted engine.
Not a smooth ride.
Not even close.
Yeah,
So the PK diet, it's like taking your body in for a tune-up.
I like it.
It's all about giving your gut a fighting chance to heal, getting rid of those bad actors, and flooding your system with nutrients it actually needs. Basically, it's about creating the perfect environment for your thyroid to do its thing.
To thrive.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the fuel, right? That's the PK diet. But Dr. Myhill also talks about stress, like it's a whole other piece of the puzzle.
Oh, absolutely. Huge piece. She actually compares it to a gearbox.
Like gearbox. Okay, now I'm curious.
Right. So think about it. Your body's trying to manage energy, keep everything running smoothly,
Right.
but then, bam, stress hits.
And it's not just one type of stress, right?
Right.
It's everything.
Exactly. Work deadlines, family stuff, that looming to-do list, even just being constantly on,
It's like we're hardwired for stress these days.
Totally.
Yeah.
And all that stress, it takes a toll on the adrenal glands. They're like the poor gearbox, trying to shift gears constantly.
Okay, so the adrenals. They're like that essential component that helps us adapt.
Exactly. They regulate our energy, our response to stress. And when they're overworked, you get that adrenal fatigue thing.
Right, which I have to say some doctors are still iffy about that term.
Oh, totally. But Dr. Myhill, she's not afraid to call it out.
She's like, nope, it's real and it's a problem.
Exactly. And it's sneaky, too, because the symptoms, they're all over the place.
Okay, so what should people be looking out for? What are the red flags?
Well, fatigue's a biggie, obviously.
Makes sense.
But it can also be brain fog, like you can't focus on anything. Or you're suddenly craving sugar like crazy.
Oh yeah, sugar cravings are the worst.
Tell me about it. And then there's the sleep stuff. Trouble falling asleep, waking up in the middle of the night.
All things people think are just, I don't know, part of life in the 21st century.
Exactly. And that's the problem. It gets normalized, brushed under the rug.
So if someone's thinking, hey, this sounds familiar, what then? What would Dr. Myhill suggest?
First things first, chill out.
Easier said than done, right?
Oh, for sure. But seriously, managing stress is key. Dr. Myhill's a big fan of meditation, yoga, anything that calms the nervous system down.
Those are good for everyone. Really.
100%. But when your adrenals are shot, it's non-negotiable.
Right, like a lifeline.
Exactly. And then there's diet, of course.
Back to the PK diet again.
Yep. It's a win-win. Good for the thyroid, good for the adrenals.
So it's like this 2-for-1 deal.
Exactly. Less processed crap, less sugar. You're already ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But Dr. Myhill, she also talks about specific nutrients.
Like what?
Vitamin C, super important for adrenal function. Magnesium, always a good one, especially if you're stressed. And then the B vitamins, they're like the energy crew.
Okay, so those are all things we can get through food, right?
Oh.
But what about supplements? Does she ever recommend those?
She does. Especially adaptogens.
Adaptogens, yeah, those are everywhere these days. I've seen those at the health food store.
Right. They're like the cool kids on the block. Ashwagandha, rhodiola, those are her go-tos. They basically help your body deal with stress better.
So you're not just masking the stress, you're actually building resilience.
That's the idea. And in some cases, she'll recommend adrenal glandulars too.
Glandulars. Now, those sound a little more intense.
They can be. They're basically like concentrated extracts from animal glands.
Wow, okay. And that helps our adrenals, how?
It's like giving them a little boost.
Yeah.
Providing the hormones they might be lacking.
Interesting. But I'm guessing you shouldn't just start popping those willy-nilly.
Definitely not. Dr. Myhill always stresses working with a doctor for that kind of stuff. Hormones are powerful. You don't want to mess around.
Makes sense. So we've got the diet, the stress management, the possible supplements. But what about people who are really struggling, like their thyroid's seriously out of whack?
Right. Well, that's where medication comes in. Even with all that foundational stuff, sometimes you need a little extra help.
And Dr. Myhill talks about that in the book.
Oh, yeah, she's got a whole section on it. And this is where it gets interesting. She's a huge proponent of natural desiccated thyroid.
Desiccated thyroid. Okay, that's a mouthful.
Right. It's basically thyroid hormone, but derived from, well, animal thyroid glands.
So it's different from the synthetic stuff you usually hear about.
Exactly. This is like the OG thyroid medication.
The OG, okay. And what's the advantage of that?
Well, Dr. Myhill, she believes it's more bioidentical, closer to what your body would naturally produce.
So more natural, I get it. But some people might hear animal glands and be a little,
Squeamish.
Yeah, exactly. Is that a valid concern?
I get it, for sure. But the good stuff, it goes through tons of testing. It's regulated. It's not like some sketchy back alley thing.
Yeah, that makes me feel better.
And honestly, for a lot of folks, that whole natural aspect, it's a big plus. They feel better knowing it's closer to what their body's used to.
That makes sense. So say someone's thinking about trying this desiccated thyroid, this TG, like how do you even figure out the right dose?
The million-dollar question. It's definitely not one size fits all.
No way.
Nope. Dr. Myhill, she's all about personalization. She's got this whole protocol in the book. It's pretty detailed.
Okay, so break it down for me.
Basically, start low, go slow, tiny dose at first, see how you feel, then gradually bump it up if you need to, but always paying attention to your body's signals.
So it's about listening to those whispers, not just relying on like a number on a lab test.
100%. How's your energy? Mood swings? Sleeping okay?
Well.
All clues, right. But yeah, blood work's still important. Got to make sure your levels are where they need to be.
Makes sense. And I'm guessing, like with most things, you can have too much of a good thing.
Oh, totally. Too much thyroid hormone, that's hyperthyroidism, no fun.
And what does that look like? Just so people know what to watch out for.
Okay, so heart's racing, can't sleep. Maybe you're sweating a lot even though it's not hot.
Okay, those are definitely signs something's off.
Big time. And sometimes even weight loss. but not the good kind.
Right, right.
So yeah, Dr. Myhill, she's got a whole list of those symptoms in the book too. Really important to be aware of them. And of course, if you're seeing those signs, talk to your doctor, get your levels checked.
Right. Always good to loop them in.
Always, always. But that's the thing with Dr. Myhill's work. It puts a lot of the power back in your hands.
That I kind of love.
Right. It's like you're not just passively taking orders, you're part of the team.
Exactly. And knowledge is power, right? The more you understand this stuff, the better you can advocate for yourself, make informed choices.
Preaching to the choir over here.
This has been seriously so eye-opening. I feel like we've just scratched the surface of Dr. Myhill's work, but it's definitely got me thinking differently about thyroid health.
Mission accomplished. It's fascinating stuff for sure.
So, any final words of wisdom for our listeners today?
I guess I would just say this. If you're dealing with fatigue or any of those other things we talked about, brain fog, mood swings, whatever.
Don't just assume it's normal.
Exactly. It might be your thyroid or maybe it's not. But the point is, there are options. Dr. Myhill's book, it lays them all out, the diet stuff, managing stress, even the medication part.
It's like a roadmap to reclaiming your energy.
Totally. And feeling like your best self again.
Love it. So, to everyone listening, if this has piqued your curiosity, definitely check out The Underactive Thyroid by Dr. Sarah Myhill. You won't regret it. And as always, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll catch you in the next one.
Love what you're hearing? Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with others. Your support fuels the journey for more awesome content.